Now, in this section, we want to talk about the citizen survey that was done back in 2013. Discovery Research conducted a telephone survey. You're obviously familiar with it. And do you think it's the kind of thing that's useful? Are you planning on undertaking another survey anytime soon?
Yeah, I think surveys are useful. I know Community Futures does the vital signs on an annual basis as well, and I think the city will probably do one in 2017 again. I think moving forward we need to better fine-tune our engagement strategy, and not just for the survey but in general. But I think the survey, it's a telephone survey, and many people don't have landlines anymore, and how else do you engage a broader cross-section of the community to really understand what the needs of the young families, retired, active people are. And the community market, I think, is one of the best ways, because you get that cross-section, not just of the community, but other people coming to the community. So they really give you a good feedback on what their perception is, what they'd like to see happening. And I think what we get back in these surveys, telephone or otherwise, I think impact how council and staff sort of shape the community moving forward. So they're important tools.
So there's a lot of positivity in the survey, talking about the quality of life in Penticton as a place to retire and as a holiday destination. Rates all, at least 7.8 up or up into the high 8s. But there were some top-of-mind issues for citizens, of course, things like lack of jobs and poor economy that people mentioned. Like about 47% of the participants talked about that. Is the job situation getting better? Is it looking up?
Yeah, we're very optimistic of that happening, especially for 2016. 2015, realtors reported one of their strongest years ever. Right. Started seeing a lot of housing and construction starts happening. For 2016, you were going to see the hospital, that's a $325 million project start. You're going to see the casinos, a $25 million project. You're going to see, I think, a $15 million hotel expansion by the Lakeside Resort. I think it's a $10 or $12 million condo tower going by the south end of town. So those are some high-profile developments that are in the can that are actually starting in the next month or so, which is really going to create a lot of jobs for good-paying jobs, and a lot of people that were living in the Okanagan and working the oil sands now will have an opportunity to have a good-paying job and be at home with their families. So that's really exciting. That's good news. And we were rated number 2 most entrepreneurial city a couple months ago. So we're trying to foster an environment for business development and growth, and for entrepreneurs to come here and start a business and hopefully grow a business so they hire more people and grow to be a vibrant part of our economy.
And talk about some of the ways that the city can influence that to encourage business. Is it just through zoning and taxes, or is there other tools you have?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we are very aggressive with our business rate multiplier for businesses, so the tax rate that businesses pay compared to residential. Those sort of things that we've been very aggressive with our economic investment zones, in terms of if you're going to spend a bunch of money, your improvements, you get a tax hiatus on the improvements that you're bringing in. One of them even has jobs attached to it, so if you create more than 20 jobs over the period of 5 years, you can extend your tax hiatus. So we have limited means to help provide incentives for business to come to our region and to spur on not just new growth but expanded growth. And our economic development, we have a task force, economic development task force, that really is trying to focus on growing our business environment, business climate. We recognize that. We've got a task force on affordable housing and tourism development, because they're sort of all linked. Tourism, we want to showcase Penticton as a place to come here, and why it would be good for you to move here or start a business here. Affordable housing, because that's been a barrier for people that are trying to get hired here, is housing. So. But everything sort of boils down to the economic development side of things, because if you don't have a strong economy, it's hard to have a strong community, and that's what we're really focused on.
I was going to ask you if the prison construction in the South Okanagan has made a difference in the job sort of market in Penticton.
Yeah, I think, having been on site there a few times, there's a lot of activity there, a lot of people working there. And that started almost 2 years ago, year and a half ago. construction ends in fall of this year, and then of course they're going to be hiring about 300 people to run the facility there. So that itself has been a great economic driver and opportunity for people.
Now, another top issue was related to financial matters, budget, fiscal responsibility, and debt. The debt has increased for the city from 10% compared to 4% in 2012. And the tax increase this year of 5.5%. Can you talk a little bit about how that is all coming together?
Well, I mean, I think if you look the last 5 years in Penticton, our tax increase has been only 0.56%, because we had a couple of years at 0, we had a minus 0.5%, and then 1.5 and 1.3. And so, yeah, this year is 5.5. It's a bit of a sticker shock for some. And, you know, in hindsight, you know, if you went and sort of did your tax increases closer to inflation, then you sort of have your bases covered, because every year, you know, cost of goods go up, your cost of staff goes up, and other cost factors always come into play, protective services, those sorts of things. And so in the past, we sort of dipped into our reserves to sort of offset any increases to the taxpayer. And we were mindful we're coming out of a recession, so, you know, it was one of the rationales for doing that. But I think moving forward, that's not very sustainable. You know, you can't always rob the piggy bank to do that, and growth is so very important. And unfortunately, this last year, we haven't had, last few years, we haven't had the robust growth as some of the other Okanagan cities have, and it really puts more pressure on the city budget. And we want to create a budget that is sustainable, and robbing the piggy bank doesn't. So, you know, that's where having that 5% increase this year sort of brings us back up to a base. We can be a bit more sustainable moving forward, and hopefully not have these crazy increases. Sooner or later, you have to pay the piper if you keep on putting things off. So.
Right. Now, another decision that was announced in January was that there'd be no more free parking at beaches and city parks. How does that play into the fiscal picture?
Yeah, so we expanded our pay parking program. It used to be mainly just downtown. This year it's going to roll out along Okanagan Lake and some of the parks there and the beach there. You know, good thing to remember is parking revenue generates about $500,000 net to the city. So, I mean, it's a large chunk of change for our community, and it's more of a user pay than just going out to all taxpayers and saying, we need to get $500,000 out of you, and that's really about 2%. So that's a big number, and again, 500 grand is a lot, and it's a user pay. And in the summer, we do have a large influx of tourists who are coming from areas who are used to paying significant amounts of money for pay parking. And you know, to help ease that transition to the community, we are looking at some sort of resident parking pass as well. So for X dollars, they can park all summer long or all year long in various parking areas. So not always have to come with a loonie or toonie or a quarter to plug the meter.
Okay. Now you mentioned that the patient care tower is getting underway. That was a big issue back in 2013. Obviously, a lot of people talked about that. How much do you have to do with this project? Like, what's the sort of balance between municipal and provincial?
Well, the regional district does have a hospital board, and our regional district basically goes from Summerland down to Suyas over to Princeton area, and so we're paying 40% of that. So we're a large funder. We were asked to sort of participate in part of the selection process in terms of some of the wayfinding and those warm and fuzzy things. And you know, come the end of April, I think, I mean, it was announced Ellis Don would be the contractor of choice to build and run, and I think end of April they're sort of fine-tuning their contract, and sort of you'll start seeing construction fences. You're actually going to start seeing action happening around, and so it's really exciting that this year you're going to start seeing stuff happening in the hospital, and that patient care tower is such a need in our community, and so it's going to create a lot of construction jobs, and it's also going to create a lot of employment when it's built for everything from nursing to technicians to doctors, and we're really excited.
Yeah, exciting times. Finally, transportation and transit are always big issues in municipal governments. I'm going to talk about what the plans are over the next 10 years, say.
Well, it's always been sort of a difficult topic in the community because certain times of the day you can look and the bus is empty, and other times there's lots of people, and you sort of you need to provide the service to make sure people are using it. And I think moving forward, even as early as next year, we're looking at increasing the frequency of our lake-to-lake route, enhancing or adding more Sunday service. If there's a way of getting more busing to special events like Peach Fest is a great example. We've extended bus services there. Maybe when there's a concert or a hockey game at the SOEC, to have bus service there. But I think in the future, what we really need to focus on is how do we interconnect with the valley. And so if you're in Penticton, or even Osoyoos for that matter, how can you come to Kelowna to go to a medical appointment or whatever else you need to do, and have that in a timely fashion so you can hit appointments and be able to get back and not just have that once a day, but maybe having some flexibility. So I think that's what we need to fix is getting from Penticton to Peachland, because from there the transit system into the central Okanagan is pretty robust, and that's where the future really has to focus on.
Is there like ongoing planning in that area?
Oh
like,
yes, and BC Transit has just finished a transit master plan, engaged not just with the politicians but with the communities. So there are plans in place. They're not probably as fast as some would like them to be or need them to be, but I think that's the next thing. The whole Okanagan has a larger percentage of seniors, and for many of them, as they get older, driving is not really a preferred option or an option for them. And so how do you provide transit so they can get to and fro to visit friends and family, and particularly the hospital system? Medical is such a big issue. How can we improve that? And we're trying to put pressure on government and BC Transit to provide for that, and it remains a top focal point.
Excellent, because I live in Penticton and commute to Kelowna on a fairly regular basis, so I'd love to see some kind of a regular transit, save me all that driving. All right, thank you very much. Sure. We are going to take another break and be back with more from Penticton Mayor Andrew Jakubeit right after this.